Insurance is supposed to give us peace of mind, but what happens when insurance doesn't really insure you at all? Think about that for a second. Have you ever paid for insurance faithfully, month after month, only to find out when you needed it most that it barely covered anything, or worse, denied your claim completely? Doesn't it feel like the system is designed to make us feel safe until the exact moment we try to use it? That's what makes this conversation so controversial. Insurance is marketed as a safety net, but when we fall, so many of us discover that the net has huge holes in it. Today, we're going to dig into the types of insurance that millions of people buy in good faith: pet insurance, travel insurance, and flood insurance, that often end up disappointing, frustrating, or outright failing people. And I want you to think about your own experiences while you listen. Have you ever had a policy that didn't deliver? Let's start with pet insurance because if you've ever owned a dog or a cat, you know how fast those vet bills can skyrocket. It sounds like a no-brainer, right? Pay $40, $50, maybe even $70 a month. And then when your furry friend needs care, you're protected. But here's the problem. Premiums have been climbing year after year, often rising faster than the actual cost of veterinary care. And then, when you finally file a claim, you discover exclusions everywhere. Pre-existing conditions, not covered. Certain breeds, excluded. Routine care like vaccines and checkups, usually not included unless you buy expensive add-on plans. Even things like dental surgery, which can be life or death for pets, are often excluded. Doesn't that make you wonder if the policy denies half the claims you submit? Is it really insurance, or just an overpriced coupon? Have you ever had a friend rave about pet insurance when they first bought it, only to regret it when they tried to actually use it? Would you personally recommend pet insurance to someone getting a new puppy, or do you think people are better off saving the money in a separate emergency vet fund? Now let's move on to travel insurance, which has exploded in popularity thanks to those tempting little boxes you see when booking a flight. Protect your trip for just $25. It feels like such a smart move. Spend a little extra to protect a trip that might cost thousands. But here's the catch. Travel insurance is notorious for fine print and loopholes. Canceled flight due to mechanical issues? Often not covered. Pandemic disruption? Usually excluded. Illness before departure? Covered only under very specific circumstances, and you'd better have documentation to prove it. And even when you technically qualify, the claims process is a headache paperwork, delays, endless back and forth emails. Have you or someone you know ever bought travel insurance only to find out that the exact reason you needed it wasn't included? Maybe you missed a trip because of a family emergency or your flight was canceled, but your policy refused to reimburse you. Doesn't it feel like the policies are written in a way that covers almost nothing? And yet, millions of travelers keep buying them because the marketing preys on that what-if fear. What if I get sick? What if my bag is lost? What if the airline cancels? It's peace of mind that often disappears at the very moment you need it most. Next, let's talk about one of the biggest hidden traps in the entire insurance industry: flood insurance. Did you know that most standard homeowners insurance policies do not cover flooding? This shocks so many people. Imagine paying thousands of dollars every year for homeowners insurance, only to find out after a major storm that none of the water damage is covered. Unless you purchase a completely separate flood insurance policy, usually through FEMA's National Flood Insurance Program, you're left on your own. But even when you do buy flood insurance, the reality is far less comforting than the marketing. Coverage limits are strict, deductibles are high, and payouts are often delayed for months or even years. To make matters worse, flood insurance often covers only the structure of your home, not the contents inside. Imagine losing everything you own to a flood, and then realizing your policy doesn't even replace your furniture, appliances, or clothing. How would you feel if you were in that situation? Doesn't it feel misleading that the most common natural disaster in the United States, flooding, is excluded from standard homeowners coverage? And here's the kicker. If you live in a designated flood zone, your bank will likely require you to buy flood insurance to qualify for a mortgage. But if you live outside those zones, you may not realize you're still at risk. So many families find themselves devastated after a storm, believing they were covered, only to learn too late that they weren't. When you look at these three examples together, pet insurance, travel insurance, and flood insurance, you start to notice a pattern. Insurance companies market their products as protection against life's unexpected events. But the reality is that they often write policies filled with exclusions, caps, and fine print that make it incredibly difficult to actually get help when you need it. And while this makes sense from a business perspective, insurance companies have to protect their profits. It doesn't make sense for consumers who are paying for peace of mind that often doesn't exist. Doesn't it feel like there should be stricter rules around what can even be called insurance? How is it legal to sell a product that leaves people unprotected when they need protection most? Imagine if your car insurance worked this way, only covering accidents on Tuesdays, or only if you crashed under certain conditions. Would anyone buy it? Probably not, so why do we put up with it in these other areas? Part of the problem is that people don't read the fine print, or when they do, it's so confusing and legalistic that they can't really understand it. And that's not by accident. Insurance policies are designed to be complicated. The harder it is for you to understand what's excluded, the easier it is for companies to deny your claim later. So what can we do as consumers? Should we avoid these types of insurance altogether? Some people argue that pet insurance is still worth it if you have a young, healthy animal, because premiums are lower and you may get coverage for unexpected emergencies. Others say it's smarter to put that same money into a savings account. For travel insurance, many experts recommend only buying policies that cover specific, high-risk trips, like cruises or international travel, where a disruption could cost thousands. As for flood insurance, if you live anywhere even remotely close to a floodplain, you may want to seriously consider it because the risk is higher than most people realize. But the key is to do your homework. Understand exactly what's covered and what's not. The bigger question, though, is this. Should the government step in to regulate these products more strictly? Should there be laws requiring insurance companies to update benefit maximums with inflation? Should travel insurance policies be required to cover common situations like airline cancellations or pandemics? Should pet insurance be forced to cover routine care or breed-specific issues? What do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments because I know so many of you watching have real experiences where you thought you were covered, only to find out you weren't. At the end of the day, insurance is supposed to protect us. It's supposed to make us feel safe. But when insurance doesn't insure, it becomes just another financial trap, one that hurts the very people who need help the most. And maybe the most frustrating part is that until we start demanding change, nothing will improve. So the next time you see that box asking if you want to protect your trip, or you're offered a new pet policy at the vet's office, or you're told to consider flood coverage, I want you to stop and ask yourself, is this really protection? Or is it just another product that looks good on paper but disappears in reality?